Well, it is a Saturday afternoon and I am in the office. It is a rainy Saturday, so not much going on today, but I'm in the office knocking out some work for a busy week for our law firm, as always, in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. With that said, I read a blog article regarding ghost guns recently because I had a case where there was an issue with regards to bail. And one of the issues in the case was the fact that it was called a ghost gun. Now, I'm going to put another article out there on bail and what you need to know about bail, because bail is a very important issue both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The two states have very, very different bail systems. New Jersey doesn't have a cash bail system anymore. It has simply just a detention system where you're either detained prior to trial or you're released. And that's based on a public safety assessment. Now, really, the factors that are used both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey are very similar: danger to the community and risk of flight. New Jersey assigns a score to those two factors. Pennsylvania doesn't assign a score, but the arguments are very similar. Now, when it comes to bail, it's very important that if your loved one or yourself are arrested, that you need to contact an attorney as soon as possible, because if bail is set high and your family cannot afford to post it, there's a strong likelihood that you're going to stay in jail at least another week or maybe even two, depending on where you are. Now, obviously, if you hire an attorney, that attorney should do everything possible to get the quickest possible bail hearing, but sometimes there is simply not room on the calendar. Now, in my experience, typically we can get a bail hearing in less than 5 days, typically heard in front of a judge, and we do our best to do that. Now, in New Jersey, the system, the way it works is that the prosecution has to file a motion to detain. If they don't file that motion, you will be released within 72 hours of being picked up. In Pennsylvania, the bail is set following your arrest. It can be set at a preliminary arraignment, or it can be set at your first court appearance, which is normally your preliminary hearing in district court, depending on where you're arrested. But if you're arrested in Philadelphia County, your bail is going to be set initially at that preliminary arraignment in front of magistrate judge. Now, with that said, it's important that your attorney be prepared to argue bail, and they need to understand your background, especially your criminal history if you have it, and if it involves any type of violence, your attorney has to do his or her best to argue away from that. Look at factors such as the age of the record and possibly what the person is doing now to show the judge or the magistrate why you really aren't a danger to the community. Now, when it comes to contacts, employment, housing, numbers of years in the community, those are all very strong factors. Marriage, kids, especially if they're younger kids, show strong contacts. If a person is single, isn't from the area, has a violent history, that's going to be a tougher bail argument than a person who's employed, has children, and doesn't have so much of a record. Now, that being said, bail, the guidelines are extremely old, and they're really not even used anymore. So it's really Wild West as far as bail. I've seen bail set drastically different between judges, and really, so it comes down to your attorney making the proper argument. And during the weekend is the worst time to be in jail, obviously. Well, there is no time that a person wants to be in jail, but it's often heartbreaking when a person's bail is set high on a Friday and they have to spend that weekend in jail. So that's why I'm putting out this video, because it's Saturday, and I can't think of how many people now are sitting in the county jail right now who really shouldn't be sitting there. And they're sitting there simply because the proper bail arguments weren't made when that person was initially arrested. If you have questions, 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to link in some articles that I wrote on bail in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They're great articles to understand the bail systems in both states. Pennsylvania is still a monetary system, and obviously New Jersey has gotten away from that system. I think the non-monetary system is much fairer of a system, because a person should not be sitting behind bars simply because they can't afford to post bail. If the person is dangerous and the person's at risk of flight, there's obviously an argument there, but those need to be argued by your attorney. But I think New Jersey has a much fairer system than Pennsylvania. I think eventually Pennsylvania will go to that system that New Jersey has employed, because I think really the cash system is something that's really just making the bonds, the bondsman companies money. And I think that's just a system that has to go away. I think that that whole industry has to be cleaned up. And one of the ways that they can get rid of it in Pennsylvania is to go to a system that New Jersey has, and immediately that will end that whole bail bond system that they have in Pennsylvania, which I think is incredibly corrupt and simply not monitored. And I think it needs to go away sooner rather than later. So again, if you have questions, 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey. Have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. Please enjoy it responsibly. If you are stopped for suspicion of DUI in Pennsylvania or DWI in New Jersey, do not refuse the chemical test, but don't disrespect the officer. Be calm as you can. Don't consent to the property search of your car or your person. Be polite to the officer, but make it clear you're not giving consent for a search. If the officer wants to search the car, don't get in his or her way, and simply follow his or her direction. But again, don't refuse that chemical test. Have a great Saturday, and I'll talk to you all very soon.